summertime, Brian, here. It is September 11th, and as you know, it's been 19 years since 19 hijackers supposedly hijacked 4 American Airlines, United Airlines flights. 2 crashed into the Twin Towers. 1 supposedly crashed into the Pentagon. And 1 supposedly went down in a field in Pennsylvania. Now, if you'll remember, what's funny about that is that it was the famous call from her husband where he said, "We're going to take the plane down, let's roll." You know what's funny? What's real funny about that is at the time they didn't have cell phone boosters on planes. There's no way a citizen could have made a call from a plane. Most people don't know that. And, you know, let's go over. Now we're talking about it. 19 hijackers, 19 years ago. COVID-19. I mean, let's think about this for a minute. What's up with the number 19? Do a little research. Anyway, so we're going to get right down to it. On 9/11, September 11, 2001, at approximately 9 o'clock, probably 8:30-ish, I was at work in Rome, Georgia, with my father and my brother, working union at Georgia Power. What's funny, before we took our first break at 9 o'clock, my father noticed an AWACS plane. Now, an AWACS plane is a huge radar plane run by the Air Force. And he said, "That's strange." Then he noticed it was strange that there was no more, because we're right near the Atlanta airport and an approach route, and there are no planes. My dad mentioned that. We go to lunch. They had a TV in there. Boom. We seen the second hit. So that being said, let's go over a couple of things that we know to be fact now. Here it is. In a field in Pennsylvania, supposedly one plane was forced to the ground. All they ever showed on the news was a big hole in the ground that was burnt. Do you know what the locals said that was? Said that was where they burnt their trash. Do you want to know what happened? When I called the coroner in that county, I can't remember what it is now. Lots happened since then. It's been 19 years. I remember it better than I remember yesterday. However, that being said, I called him. He said, "This is the first crash of any kind that I've ever been to that, well, been no blood, no bodies, and no vehicle." He said, "I'm quitting my job. Don't call me back." Fact. You know what else was strange? That the president was George W. Bush. His oldest brother was in charge of security at Twin Towers. Do you know that? Did you know the Twin Towers hold 30,000 people, had 30,000 officers? Did you know about 20,000 people didn't show up for work that day on a Tuesday? That's kind of strange. Same thing happened in Oklahoma City. FBI didn't show up for work on that Tuesday. And ain't that kind of weird, all these incidents is happening on Tuesdays? Well, this is about that day. And I ain't being a conspiracy theorist. I'm being a realist. I'm telling you what happened. And that we know to be fact that it happened. You know, the Twin Towers, everything falls at 37 feet per second. I don't care if it's a penny or a car. If you drop it from the Empire State Building, it's going to fall at about 37 feet a second. Guess what? You want to hear something real funny? Twin Towers fell faster than that. Well, I mean, are they an anomaly? But they did. They fell faster than 37 feet a second. You want to hear something else funny? It just so happens at my home, when this was happening, I was studying the blueprints because I was an iron worker and I was in apprenticeship school. I was studying the blueprints of the World Trade Center, where the Empire State Building had got hit by a Cessna, a single-engine plane years before. They had built these to withstand the impact of a 747. Really? 4x8 columns all the way up the center. Nothing would bring them down. You see what I'm saying? kind of reminiscent of the Titanic that was launched on a Tuesday. On a Tuesday that they said God couldn't sink this ship. God didn't sink that ship. God didn't bring World Trade Center down. Neither did Osama bin Laden. Neither did 19 hijackers with box cutters. This is America. That don't happen. But yet somebody convinced you that it did happen. You understand what I'm saying? Here's some other just interesting facts that you may or may not find interesting. There's 8 million cameras around. I mean, literally 8 million cameras around the Pentagon, and there's not one single footage of a plane hitting the Pentagon. The side of the Pentagon that was hit was a side that was under construction. Not one single person died. There was no wings. There was no engines. There was an engine. It was the type of engine that carries a cruise missile. I remember when Ronald Reagan fired a cruise missile at Gaddafi's house. You know what it did? It made a 16-foot hole. You know what the size of the hole in the Pentagon was? 16 feet. You know what the engine was that they found on the ground? It was the engine that carries a cruise missile. Fact. Look it up. It's a fact. You know what else? World Trade Center 1 and 2 wasn't the only buildings that fell. World Trade Center 7 and 9 fell. Here it is, World Trade Center 7 wasn't even on fire. Larry Silverstein, who had acquired the property, who had acquired insurance on the property, he insured World Trade Center Plaza for $7 billion weeks before the attack. Did you know there were people in the government that were told not to fly on Tuesday? Did you know that there was people who hedged bets against the airline industry? Now, hedging is this. It's when you think a stock is going to lose money, it's just like gambling. You can put money up against it. Billionaires everywhere hedged bets against United Airlines and American Airlines. Really? Did you know weeks before they moved the Washington Monument where it would be in direct view of the towers falling? And then it was printed on the money. Hey, Google folding up a $20 bill and see if it don't. The 20, the 10, the 5. When I say what's really going on, I mean what's really going on. Because what you're being told in the media is a lie. We all know right now that the COVID-19 coronavirus bullshit's a lie, but we still wearing masks and walking around like there's something to be afraid of. No, what you better be afraid of is the people that have enough power to take over the networks and tell you this lie and have you believe it. That's what you need to fear. But you know what? We were warned about this. John F. Kennedy said, we don't have nothing to fear but fear itself. Bible says 365 times says, fear not. That's one for each day. For I haven't given you a spirit of fear, but of love and of sound mind, and of power, and sound mind. So I'm getting all worked up and over nothing, maybe over nothing, maybe I'm getting worked up because we should all be worked up over it. Because here it is. I know this much, even by their own story, if they said Osama bin Laden done it, blah, blah, blah. But you know, we amassed the troops and we invaded Iraq again. Iraq certainly didn't have anything to do with it. The president, he was an oil man from way back. Yeah. His family made their billions selling steel to both the Nazis and the Americans and the Japanese. He playing both sides. They should have been tried for treason. You know what I mean? But that didn't happen. Here it is. You take a look. This September 11th. Yeah, I don't want you to forget. I don't want you to forget that September 10th, Donald Rumsfeld got on the news and said that $2.8 trillion was missing from the Pentagon. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but at the time there was only 10 countries whose gross domestic product was above $2.8 trillion. We were one of them. Of course, Europe, Japan, China. It would have collapsed the world economy had stock markets open the next day. And right before the stock markets open, boom, plane fires in World Trade Center 1. These are all facts. You can look these facts up, or you can just cuss me like a dog because I'm telling you the truth. You know what I mean? Because here it is. The truth's like poetry, and most people hate poetry. Love y'all.